In January 2000, at the absolute peak of the dot-com bubble, two giants made a decision that would go down as the worst merger in corporate history. It was worth $165 billion. Wall Street called it visionary. Executives called it inevitable. The media called it the future. But just 2 years later, it had destroyed over $200 billion in value. This is the story of how AOL swallowed Time Warner, and how the deal that looked like pure genius became one of the most catastrophic business decisions ever made. To understand this merger, you have to go back to 1999. The internet wasn't just growing, it was exploding. Every week, a new tech company went public. Stock prices doubled overnight. Profits didn't matter. Clicks mattered. And sitting at the center of this frenzy was AOL. If you were online in the 90s, you remember the sound.
You've got mail.
AOL wasn't just an internet provider. It was the internet for millions of Americans, 30+ million subscribers. Dial-up discs mailed to homes everywhere. Chat rooms, email, news, instant messaging. By 1999, AOL's stock had skyrocketed. Its valuation was higher than some of the biggest industrial giants in America, and leading the charge was CEO Steve Case. He had a bold vision. Old media was dying. The internet would dominate everything, and whoever controlled both would control the future. On the other side stood Time Warner. This wasn't a startup. This was an empire. Time Warner owned Warner Brothers, CNN, HBO, Time Magazine, and massive cable networks. It had decades of history, stable cash flow, and real-world assets. Its CEO, Gerald Levin, believed something crucial. The internet needed premium content. Movies, TV, news, entertainment, and AOL needed exactly that. So when Steve Case approached Levin with a proposal, it seemed like destiny. On January 10, 2000, they announced it. AOL would acquire Time Warner in a stock deal worth $165 billion. It was the largest merger in history at the time. The logic sounded flawless. AOL had internet distribution. Time Warner had premium content. Together, they would dominate digital media. Imagine this in 2000 terms. AOL subscribers streaming Warner Brothers movies. Exclusive HBO content online. CNN powered by AOL's reach. The market loved it. AOL's stock was insanely inflated during the dot-com bubble, and they used that overpriced stock as currency to buy a real-world media empire. On paper, brilliant. In reality, a ticking time bomb. Just 2 months after the merger announcement, the dot-com bubble began to collapse. Tech stocks started falling, then crashing, then imploding. AOL's valuation, at which had made the deal possible, evaporated. And here's the problem. AOL had used its overvalued stock to buy Time Warner. When the stock price collapsed, so did the foundation of the entire deal. But that wasn't even the worst part. Inside the company, chaos erupted. AOL was fast, aggressive, and built on hype. Time Warner was traditional, cautious, and corporate. Executives didn't trust each other. Strategies clashed. Promised synergies never materialized. The internet division thought cable executives were dinosaurs. The media veterans thought AOL was smoke and mirrors. Meanwhile, broadband replaced dial-up. Consumers stopped needing AOL's gateway. Advertising revenue collapsed. By 2002, AOL Time Warner announced a $99 billion loss. At the time, it was the largest corporate loss in history. Billions in shareholder value were wiped out. The future of media had become a corporate disaster. This wasn't just bad timing, it was 3 fatal mistakes. 1. Buying at the peak of a bubble. AOL's stock was inflated beyond reality. 2. Culture mismatch. You can't force innovation and tradition to merge overnight. 3. Overestimating synergy. PowerPoint slides promised integration. Reality delivered dysfunction. Eventually, the companies untangled themselves. In 2009, Time Warner spun off AOL. The merger of equals was over. Here's the real takeaway. In business, hype can look like strategy. When markets are euphoric, bad ideas feel revolutionary. The AOL Time Warner merger wasn't stupid people making foolish decisions. It was smart executives blinded by momentum. And that's what makes it dangerous, because bubbles don't feel like bubbles until they burst. So next time you hear analysts calling something the future, ask yourself, is this innovation or is it euphoria? If you enjoyed this breakdown of billion-dollar mistakes, hit subscribe, because every week we break down the decisions that looked brilliant until they weren't. And if there's another corporate collapse you want me to cover, drop it in the comments, because behind every billion-dollar disaster, there's a decision that changed everything. See you in the next one.